go on with your experiments. You can borrow your BP apparatus, and if you have questions, just raise your hand so I can go and see and correct you if ever. Okay? Now, basic ECG. Okay, basic ECG interpretation. This is a lecture I did for a workshop, so we'll just run through, not all the slides will be used for you. Okay? So ECG. ECG or electrocardiogram is a graphic or visual display of electrical forces generated by your heart. Your heart undergoes depolarization and repolarization, right? So these are electrical currents that occur in your heart. And these are what? These are visualized or placed in graphic form or something that you see through the ECG. The first ECG machine was made in 1911 and it was utilized then. So objectives, basically you have to define what is ECG, identify the different components of an ECG, understand how an ECG is generated, and to know the steps in recording a conventional ECG, identify and measure different ECG waveforms, to be able to calculate your heart rate from your rhythm strips, and identify normal from abnormal ECG. We do not expect you to have a diagnosis at the end of this lecture. Okay? What is important is you know the components of an ECG. So, the clinical significance of your ECG, basically it is utilized to identify cardiac arrhythmias. Arrhythmia being what? Being irregular rhythm, okay? Or abnormal rhythm. You have conduction abnormalities like your AV blocks. You have chamber enlargement like your hypertrophies, your enlarged ventricles. You have myocardial infarction or what we know as heart attacks, okay? And electrolyte imbalance like hyperkalemia or hypokalemia. So ECG waveforms. ECG records your heart's electrical activity, and the electrical impulses are recorded as waves or deflections. Okay, it can be positive if it's upright, it is negative when it is what? Inverted. Depolarization is the fundamental electrical event of the heart. Repolarization restores it to resting state. Depolarization and repolarization comprises the different waveforms that you see in your ECG. So again, you have your cardiac impulse from your sinoatrial node going to your left atrial, to your EV node, and then passes through your bundle of His, and then your bundle branches, and then your Purkinje fibers. So your standard ECG is a 12-lead ECG, composed of 12 leads that record electrical activity from 12 different views. So if you're standing, Mr. Benito, if you're standing in front of the elephant, what do you see? What do you see? In front of the elephant, what do you see? The trunk. Okay. Miss Oven. If you're standing behind the elephant, what do you see? What do you see? The thighs. Okay, the tail. Okay, what else? Miss Labuen. Oh, if you're standing if you're lying underneath the elephant, what do you see? The belly. Oh, conservative siya, belly. Okay? So basically what you see are different angles of your heart. Okay? Or your elephant, when you're standing, elephant na. When you're standing in front of an elephant in different ways, in different angles, you see different views of it. In the same way that your leads, your limb leads and your chest leads, when you place it in your on your body, it records different views of your heart. You understand? Now, these are ECG machines. I'm not endorsing any of them. Okay? It's just that these are the example of ECGs that I've seen. Okay? You have your single channel, which is the other one, and your 3 to 6 channel, which is on your left. Okay? So, electrode placements. Your electrodes are placed on, they are color-coded. Okay? So, you have, on your right arm, you have your white, and then on your left arm, you have your black. On your right leg, you have your green, and on your left leg, you have your red. So, they say it's white on right, white being on top of your, being on right, and then you have snow on grass, which is your white being above your green, and then black over fire, or smoke over fire, because your black is above your red. Okay? But please bear in mind that it depends on from what country that ECG machine is manufactured. Sometimes the electrodes are different. So you can see electrodes such as this. Green, yellow, black, and green, and red. Okay? So entirely different from the one I showed you. But they are called, like I said, they are coded. So for this particular set, the red one is on your right, the yellow one is on your left, the black is on your left, on your right, and the green one is on your left. Understand? Usually the right leg is a ground. Okay, G-R-O-U-N-D. It's a ground. Now, so you have bipolar and unipolar electrodes. Okay? Your bipolar, as the term implies, it needs to have two electrodes in order for you to make a tracing. Okay? Example of this are your lead 1, lead 2, and lead 3. Okay? Because it needs two electrodes, for example, your left arm is positive, your right arm is negative. Your lead 2, left leg positive, RA negative. Lead 3 is our left leg positive and left arm negative. Nice to know. Okay? Because you use those positive and negative with QRS complexes. But I will just discuss that in passing because it's a bit complicated. What is important for us at this level is for you to understand why there's a P wave, why there's a QRS, why there's a T. Okay, and you'll be able to measure those. Now, using the same limb leads, they are designated as A for augmented and V for unipolar. Unipolar meaning you can only use one electrode and yet you can generate a waveform already. Okay, so example of these are your ABR, your ABL, and your ABF. Your ABR is not very significant clinically, but it is still necessary for you to be able to generate a ECG waveform. So you have 6 your limb leads are, you have actually 4 limb leads, but because they intersect and they form different vectors, you actually have 6. You identify 6 of them. So the view, they look at the heart in the view, frontal view, okay, frontal plane. They are designated as 1, 2, and 3, AVR, AVL, AVR, and AVF. They look at your heart upward, downward, sideways. Okay? Now, your inferior leads, your 2, 3, and AVF are the ones that look at your heart from below. Inferior lead. That's why it's called inferior leads. Your left lateral leads look at your heart from the left. Okay? From the left side. Your AVR is just there. Okay, your chest leads. This one you have to know the locations of your chest leads. Where's your sternum? Saan? Ang sternum. Okay. So, you have, your V1 should be placed on the 4th intercostal space, right sternal border. So, intercostal space, you count from your clavicle, identify the space going down. So, count from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's your nipple located? Usually. 4th intercostal space. So, basically that's where it is. Okay? Your nipples. But, those are for those that are the usual location. For those who have pendulous breast, that's a different story. Okay? Now, for V2, you have your 4th intercostal space, exactly the same area as your V1, but it's on the left sternal border. For V3, you have your 5th intercostal. Usually, we put V4 first before we put V3. Because your V4 is on the 5th intercostal space, left mid-clavicular line. So your clavicle, the middle one going down, that's your mid-clavicular line. And then in between V4 and V2, that is where your V3 should be. V5 is your 5th intercostal, it's at your 5th intercostal space, anterior axillary line. Where is it? Where's your anterior axillary line? So in front of your axilla. Okay, and then V6 is still in your 5th intercostal space, mid-axillary line. So it's on the lateral side, okay, of your chest. So correct lead placement is important. So V1 to V6 looks at your heart this way. Okay, V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. Now, your lead groups. This is why you have your leads, and they are placed in such a way. Your anterior leads look V1, V2, V3, and V4. These are your anterior leads. It looks at your heart this way. Your 1 in AVL looks at your heart from the high lateral portion, from that way. Your V5 and your V6, since it's located in your anterior axillary and your mid-axillary line, it looks at your heart from the lateral view. So that's also looking at it in that signifies your lateral view, your V5 and your V6. Your 2, 3, and AVF looks at your heart from underneath, okay, from below. So that means it's looking at your heart inferiorly. That's why when you have ECG readings, if you've encountered it before, you've seen it for the nurses, you've seen it in the clinics. For the medtechs, if you looked at the chart, maybe you've seen it, or from your relatives. If there's a reading there that says myocardial ischemia inferior wall, it means the one affected is the inferior portion of your heart. That is, and the abnormality is seen in your leads, what? 2, 3, and AVF. If they say it's an anterolateral wall ischemia, it means the defect is what? Seen by ECG in your V1, V2, V3, and V4. Did you understand? Now, ECG waveform. So you have your P. This is your ST segment, this is your Q or S, and this is your T, and then your U. P waves are known as your atrial depolarization. It precedes your QRS complex. Okay, it means it happens before your QRS. It's rounded and approximately 3 millimeters in height, and the width is about 11 seconds. Other books would say that you actually have this one. This one is right, and this one is the left atrium. Okay, that's very hard to distinguish. Now, QRS, depolarization of your ventricular muscles. The height is around 25 millimeters and the width is about less than 10 seconds. Now, your QRS can sometimes come in different forms. We usually identify if it's a low or short deflection, it's identified by a small letter. If it's a large deflection, it means whether the deflection can signify either upright or inverted. So it can either be positive or negative. Did you understand? So when it's a large deflection, it's written as a capital letter. Okay? So for example, you have, this is nice to know so that when you see it, you understand that this is still a QRS complex, but this one is an R, S, R. Okay? Because the deflection is high. This one, on the other hand, is considered a QS pattern. This one is a QR pattern. Okay? This one is a capital Q and a big R also. So it depends on how you write it when you interpret it. But these are examples of multiple forms of deflection. Nice to know at this time. P waves is the end of ventricular repolarization and usually has the same orientation as your QRS in a normal ECG. So this is a T wave. Now, your U waves are small deflections following the T wave. Please take note that you do not usually see two U waves. They are not as commonly seen because they're very small. So the usual component that you see in a usual ECG are your P, QRS, and your T. They are oriented as QRS, and they're usually observed in your chest leads, which are what? What are your chest leads? V1 to V6. Limb leads 1, 2, 3, AVR, AVL, and AVF. Now, ECG waveform. So you have your PR interval, your QRS complex or QRS duration. You also have a PR segment, an ST segment, and you have a QT interval. Okay? So your ECG waveforms basically signifies your atrial depolarization, your ventricular depolarization, and your atrial and ventricular depolarization. From the other class, I was asked why it's a combination of atrial and ventricular. I think from your lecture, it was said that the atrial is actually incorporated in between the QRS. But bottom line, there is repolarization. Okay, it signifies ventricular repolarization. But in order for it to contract, you have to have what? repolarization of your atrium as well. Okay? That is why in the graph, it's in this form, it was pictured as in one. It was not actually emphasized, but it was just stated that this is to signify that during this time, there is also atrial and ventricular repolarization going on. But your T waves signifies ventricular repolarization. Did you understand? Now, PR interval. So your PR interval is measured from the beginning of your P wave to the beginning of your QRS complex. Okay? Your QRS complex or QRS duration is measured from the beginning of your Q wave to the end of your QRS complex. Your QT interval is measured from the beginning of your QRS complex to the end of your T wave. Okay? You also have a PR segment. This is not measured, but this should be identified. Okay? You should know where it is. ST segment is not measured also, but the configuration or on how it looks should also be noted. Okay? Because this is where you gauge whether your T wave or your segments are elevated or not, which is significant in certain disease conditions. Now, your PR interval is, the normal is about 0.12 to 0.20 seconds in the adult. The PR segment is the distance from the end of your P wave to the beginning of your QRS complex. Your QRS interval, as I've stated earlier, is the beginning of your QRS complex to the end point of your QRS, and the normal is about 0.10 seconds. The J point that is signified here is the point where QRS joins your ST segment. Okay? Now this one is important because that is the basis for us for knowing if your ST segments are elevated or not. Okay, but usually it's almost in the same level as the beginning of your QRS complex. Your QT interval, the normal of which is 0.35 to 45 seconds. So from the beginning of Q to the end of your T, that is your QT interval. 2 R's in between, and there are between one QRS and another QRS, that is what you call an RR interval. Between one P to the next P, that is your PP interval. Okay? ST segment is not a true waveform, but it's actually an interval of time from the end of your QRS to the beginning of your T wave. It's important in myocardial infarctions and coronary artery diseases. So this is your ECG graph paper, ECG graph paper. Every small square it's made up of horizontal and vertical lines, okay? It's made up also of dark lines and light lines, okay? The dark ones indicate the big squares, and the light lines are those that are not clearly shown are the small squares. For every small square, this one, it's equivalent to 0.04 seconds. One large square has 5 of these small squares, and that is equivalent to 0.2 seconds. Okay? The horizontal are units of time. That's why it's called seconds. Okay? The unit is seconds. The vertical lines are voltage. That's why it's called millivolts. Okay? Now, for every small square, that's equivalent to about 1 millimeter or 0.1 millivolt. If you have 10 of those, then that's equivalent to what? 1 millivolt. One small square, 0.1. 10 of those, 1. Okay? Now, the standard speed for your ECG is around 25 millimeters per second. ECG is standardized for accurate measurement. It means that the initial ECG setting, it's always at standard 1. Okay? The standard 1, it means that the height is 1 millimeter and the voltage is 0.1 millivolt. So 1 millivolt deflection is about 10 millimeters high. Okay? We've shown it earlier. This one is about, this entire thing, this one is 1 millivolts. Okay? 1 millivolt. Okay? Now, there are instances when your ECG goes beyond the paper. Why? Because your heart may be enlarged, you have left ventricular hypertrophy, so it's enlarged. You cannot read it accurately. So in order for you to still get a graph or a visualized form of your ECG, you have to lower or cut into half your deflection. So that's why you adjust it to standard 1/2. Okay? And when you do that, you get the tracing that you want. But when you calculate and interpret it, you have to take note of what standard was used. If it's 1/2, it meant that your deflection is ×2 actually of what you see. Did you understand? Oppositely, your tracing is very small, for example, and you can interpret it very well, you can increase the height. When you increase the height, you change it to standard 2. So you double the height, but when you interpret it, you have to make sure that you see if what standard was being used. So you know that it's actually a low voltage ECG. It means the ECG's voltage is low, but you still need to increase it so that you will be able to interpret it accurately. Okay? Now, heart rate calculation. This is where we need to, this one you need to know. Okay? Heart rate are usually, the 1,500 method can be used only if the rhythm is regular. How do you do this? How do you know? You have so many QRS complexes. You mark it one interval with another interval, you mark it, and then try to compare it with the others. If you have exactly the same RR interval, most probably that's regular. Okay? Now, what you do, you count the number of squares in between two adjacent QRS complexes, and then you divide 1,500 by the number of squares that you count in between the two. And you get the heart rate. For example, this one. This is a rhythm strip. How many squares in between one R, this is the R interval, 1 R going to the next R.
1, 2,
so you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 1,500 divided by 15 small squares is equal to 100 beats per minute. That is your heart rate. It is relatively more accurate than all the other methods that I'm teaching. Did you understand this? Next, the square method. The square method, you have to memorize this. The square method utilizes QRS complexes that falls on one dark line. If there are so many QRS complexes, you look at the one that falls on a dark line. Okay? So, for example, if this is the one that falls on the dark line compared to all three, this one is the one that falls. The next dark line, that is 300. The second dark line, that's 150. The next dark line, that's 100, followed by 75, 60, and 50. So, for this particular tracing, the interval from where one RR to the next RR, your next RR falls between 75 to 60, right? So you have to approximate that one, and your heart rate is approximately 65 beats per minute. Did you understand?
300.
So that one you have to memorize. 300, 150, 175, 60, and 50. So that is the square method. Now you also have what you call a 6-second method. On top of your ECG strips, there are actually markers there, like tiny dots. But you can see it here, that's why I showed it there on top. And each of the three here shows 3-second interval. So this method is 6 seconds. So you have to count it every 6 seconds. Okay? So for this particular, you have to count how many QRS complexes are there in a 6-second interval. Okay? So for this, we start with the first QRS. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 QRS complexes. Then you multiply now the number of QRS complexes by the constant 10. In the same way, in the 1,500, the 1,500 is constant. Okay? Now, the variable is what? Is the squares, and the variable here are your QRS complexes. So you multiply 10 by 10, so the answer is 100 beats per minute. Did you understand? So you have 1,500 method, the square method, and the 6-second method. So now, calculate the heart rate.
First 300, 150, 100.
Whatever method, not the 6-second method because there's no marker on top.
100,
That's the 1/5 and the square method.
1,
So
5.
ilan? Loop 4. Where's loop 4? Loop 4, where are you? Raise your hand.
1.
Saan? Absent lahat ng loop 4? Oh. Ano man? 65. Group 7. Saan ang group 7? 7, where are you? Absent lahat ng group 7.
200,
What's your answer?
150, 100,
What?
25.
56. Oh, sino pa? 68. Oh, sino pa? 70. Oh, ano pa? Sige. 71. Sige. Oh, sige, sabihin na natin yung sagot, ha? Your answer is 68 minutes per day. Why? Okay. Using the
Square method.
Okay. There are 5 small squares in one big square, right? So you counted 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22. Okay? Because there are 5 small squares in one big square. So you just count the big square. Huwag ka isa sa ganyan. Dapat sa ganyan. 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22. Okay? So 1,500 divided by 22. Answer. 68. Okay. Next. If you use the square method, this one falls here, right? So the next 300,
150, 100, 75, 60.
So, approximately 60. Did you get it? Next. So, axis determination. Axis is a bit complicated, okay? But basically, your axis shows the average of all depolarizations in your heart, and it represents direction. So, going to the left, going to the right. Is it a normal axis? Abnormal axes are usually seen in hypertrophy of ventricles, meaning your heart muscles are enlarged, your left or your right ventricles, your myocardial infarction. So you have your, these are nice to know for now, but in third year, this you have to know. So okay, you have your right arm, your left arm, and your foot. So there's a positive, direct positive going to the negative, your positive going to the negative, and your negative going to positive. So this is what you call an example of your hexaxial reference system. So this is the basis when you see in your ECG left axis diagnosis, left axis deviation, right axis deviation, normal axis, indeterminate axis. This is the basis for that. Okay? So normal axis falls between 0 to 90 degrees. This one, from 0 to 90 degrees. Going here, going up, that's your left axis deviation. This is your right axis deviation. This is your right axis deviation, and this one is your indeterminate axis, or what we call no man's land. So basically, we analyze that one by vectors, but one of the easiest is the quadrant method. So if your lead 1 QRS complex is upright and your lead AVF QRS complex is upright, it's a normal axis. When your lead 1 QRS complex is inverted or negative and your lead AVF is positive, that's a right axis deviation. Indeterminate axis, if both are inverted and your lead 1 QRS is upright but your lead AVF is inverted, that's a left axis deviation. So how do you analyze an ECG? Basic analysis of an ECG at this time. Calculate the rate, determine if it's regular or irregular, assess P waves, determine the PR interval, and determine the QRS duration. Axis, no, at this time. Not yet. So now, analyze this. Heart rate. Plan.